Hey guys, it's Kiki, and it's another 100 Days of Making Comics Challenge video. This challenge was created by Kevin Cross here on the YouTubes. You can see a link to his channel, his first foray into the challenge, and the challenge Facebook group in the description below. Essentially, this challenge is for 30 days straight. You work a minimum of 30 minutes per day on your personal comic projects, and then you make a social media post of some kind showing or talking about what you did. Keeping you honest, I make videos. Day 36, yay, and I didn't fall asleep in the middle of editing. Yeah, so today I worked on finished colors for my brother Ryan and my friend Jay. I finished out Ryan's, started Jay's. I only did about 15 minutes work on this, and then I did scripting when I got home from work. So got my 30 minutes in. Again, I'm restricting myself to 30 minutes, not only because it's a work week, but also I'm in the process of planning some classes that I'm going to be teaching on Saturday at the comic book convention here in my hometown that I'm volunteering at. So getting this squeezed in is fun. So yeah, I actually had a topic I wanted to talk about yesterday, but the falling asleep thing happened. As I'd said previously, I'm pulling up all my old graphic novel stuff, and I started realizing not only do I tend to really like darker storylines, but I also like to tell it from either unusual or not expected points of view, or taking roads like my graphic novel Interstice, it's actually the one that I showed the character sketches the very first video for this one, and it was the graphic novel I was working on the first time I did this challenge last year. And essentially it's a post-apocalyptic story where the main characters find out there's this thing happening that could end the world, and they have to go and try to save it. But it's not a situation of they're like the chosen one, or they've got these special powers, or whatever the case may be. It's just normal people being thrust in this unusual situation and dealing with that. And I love that idea. I've run across it in different stories, and I think it makes very interesting storytelling. And it's something that I either like to do. It's something that I've run across quite often in the different graphic novels that I'd pulled up, like Kikki, the one that I'm actually going to revamp and work on because I decided I was going to just choose whichever one, and I chose this one because it's probably my oldest. The whole story is the main character is a prostitute, and it's not a situation of like living with her prostitution. It's a situation that has to do with like gods and this war in heaven and stuff, but it's all done from the point of view of a prostitute and her involvement in that war, and it's this thing that's much greater than what she is, and her dealing with that. And originally she was a bit of originally the story is a bit of a chosen one situation, which is extremely cliche, which there's nothing too horribly wrong with cliches, but I try not to be that cliche. So I'm gonna revamp it a bit and see what I want to do with it. Like I also had like a story idea of, like the classic Disney, the entire household is enchanted, and kind of like the Beauty and the Beast situation where like they're enchanted and the beast got turned to a beast, and all the people in the castle got turned into inanimate objects. Well, they weren't inanimate, but they got turned into things like teacups and stuff. And I thought it would be interesting to tell that story of like a whole household being enchanted like that, but telling the story from the point of view of the servants, like the servants that got pulled into it. I thought that might have been an interesting idea, just to, I don't know. I like the idea of like doing things from a different point of view, or doing things from maybe not the most used point of view, or I really like the idea of putting normal people in extraordinary circumstances and seeing how they deal with such situations. Another thing it's not so much a different way of telling it, but it's And it's something I still want to do, even though I am not a religious person. But I love biblical stories. It's something I grew up with, and one of my most popular comics that I had done that I'd never finished, but I want to go back and complete it because I still like the idea of taking biblical stories and really humanize them. I think the thing that got me on that was I don't know if anybody listening has ever seen the animated movie Prince of Egypt. It's one of my favorites. And there's a scene in there, spoilers if you've never seen it, there's a scene in there where it shows Moses' reaction after the plague of the firstborn dying, and essentially his nephew, I mean, even though they're not blood brothers, he was raised as his brother. He loved him. And his nephew died, and his reaction to that, and I thought, that's fantastic. I love that idea of really humanizing people, and so that's something I wanted to do. I wanted to tell these biblical stories, but really humanize these people, these characters in this. And so the first one I did was the story of Adam and Eve, but it was all done from Eve's point of view, and it was, Eve dealing with coming in after, Adam had already been around for a while, and then Eve comes in after the fact, and, the whole temptation of her, and her dealing with, essentially her, I mean, I thought about, like, would she feel guilty with the fact that she brought the fruit or whatever she was, that cursed them or whatever. I thought it was really an interesting idea. I still think it's an interesting idea. I don't know. Do any of y'all think about these situations when telling stories? Trying to push it to be a little high, Moss, just a little different. So I don't know. I just think it has a depth to it. I think personally, I'm rambling. I gotta get to work. Anyway, so, yeah. I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow for more comics. Later.